في مصريين كتير فمساء الخير مساء العسل مساء الفل. Good evening. My name is Sabri Saad Al-Hams. I'm an actor and a theater maker in Holland. But it's not about me. When I was asked actually to use the evening, this big talk between two of the biggest directors in Egypt, I took my chance immediately to meet them and to be here and to be promised actually a very interesting talk between those two giants of the cinema in Egypt. The first one is Mr. Yousry Nasrallah. مساء الخير يا أستاذ يسري. أهلا بيك يا فندم. منور روتردام يا أستاذ يسري. Is a big film, one of the biggest filmmakers actually in Egypt, and he started his life, I read, in Lebanon as a writer and film critic, and then he met, made actually an interview with Youssef Chahine, and I'll wait until that phone is dead. and then he came actually a great friendship between him and Youssef Chahine artistically, and they started to write. He wrote a lot of films also of Mr. Youssef Chahine, one of the biggest, maybe the biggest cinema maker in all time in Egypt, in the Arab world. And then he started to make his own films. One of the first films he made was Boys and Girls, and I've seen that one. And I was really fond of it, and I don't know why, but it's a documentary, and I loved it very much about the free style, actually, of this film and the filmmaking. And, it was an eye-opener for me at the time, because I left Egypt in the 80s, in the late 70s, and I came to Holland, and I stayed here, and I lost a bit the artistically relationship with Egypt, so I didn't follow a lot of the work was made there. But, of course, Mercedes and Stolen Summers, Baby Shams, احكي يا شهرزاد, Tell Us More, Shahrazad, one of his biggest films. The list is bigger than that. And also one of his achievements is Life Achievement Award given to him by Egypt. And I think for all what he's done to Egypt and to the Arab world. That's the first great director we're going to meet. And the second one is Marwan Hamed. مساء الخير يا أستاذ مروان. أهلا بيك يا فندم. And about Marwan Hamed, it was actually it's a personal story, because when I was busy with my career in Holland, and I have nothing to do with Egypt at the time, and I'm talking about 25 years ago, I was walking through Rotterdam during the IFFR. Emile Vallot was the former director then, the daring former director, and he had made a special week about comedy and in Islamic countries. Comedy films from the Islamic countries, Iran and Egypt. And one of those films was Al-Irhab wal-Kabab. And I was really surprised, and I was very glad to have the chance to see this film in Rotterdam, in Holland. And the script writer of this film, Al-Irhab wal-Kabab, Al-Ustaz Allah Yarhamu Wahid Hamid, one of the biggest, yes. And 25 years later, his son is shining here in this festival again. And I think his spirit is with us to see what's happening here also. And with Marwan Hamed, you've of course, he is a guest, he's a special guest of the IFFR, and his focus is a special focus on his films, a retrospective, and his films are here, and you have to see it. If you have the chance, if you didn't see it yet, just go, grab your things together, and go and see the films. Especially the film I started with my career with Marwan Hamed, my story with it, is actually Amarat Yaqubian, the Yaqubian building, which is about us, about Egypt then, about Egypt now, and I think about Egypt in the future also. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great, great, great honor to welcome to the stage Mr. Yousry Nasrallah, تفضل يا فندم, and Mr. Marwan Hamed. Have a very nice, interesting evening with this big, big talk. This is the, yeah, you have your, okay, yes, introduce yourselves. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, late afternoon. My name is Deli Shirazi. I'm part of the selection committee at IFFR, and I am going to moderate this talk with these two giants, as you said, Sabri. Just to give you a little idea about how we're going to go about this, this talk, we have a loose script that I'm sure our two panelists are not going to respect, but this is part of the fun. We're going to talk about Marwan's work through loosely 4 or 5 themes. And then we're going to expand the conversation about Egyptian cinema in a broader manner, and also the place of Marwan's work within it, and many more things.
In both those sequences we've seen where you're talking about love, very different. But it's the music that does the scene. It's the musicality of the scene that tells the story. And musicality is also something that is linked to time, how you use time, how would you tell a love story?
With the love story, I always, and as you said, it's always about picking the moment and trying as much as possible to stretch that moment. So in a love story, I mean, we can have a relationship that lasts for a very long time. But what is so special to tell, and which moment would I choose? And for me, this could be something that, for example, with Ibrahim Labyad, I mean, in real life or in real time, this could be something less than a second or a couple of seconds. The moment he saw Horeya, Ibrahim saw Horeya coming down the stairs. But in his mind, psychologically, this felt like a much longer
life.
time. Yeah, exactly. And telling a story also, combining a backstory, like in the middle. And I think music here helps a lot. Music here and helps to kind of extend the moment very much, and remove it from real time, this moment from real time into another context, into the context of a psychological context of this feeling. I mean, in Romeo and Juliet, in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, so it's one of the most amazing love stories ever. So if you really look for the love scenes there, or for the romantic scenes there, so he saw her in the very beginning, and then then there's the party, and then there's the conflict, so on. So when you're trying to say, like, okay, there are two people that love each other, I always would pick like a peak moment, like how did they first fell in love.
Yeah, but what's cinematic about it? What is very cinematic here is not just, it's the control you have over time.
Yes.
Whether it's a love story, it's a love moment, or, and the musicality comes here, from what I feel. In Ibrahim Labyad, it's very clear, there's no dialogue, there's nothing but the music and the image, and the story is told entirely.
Yes.
Even a whole lifetime is told entirely in a few shots, where she's still a child, the way you intercut between her, their childhood and their maturity when they see each other again, and in the Yaqubian building, where it's very heavy on dialogue, but it's the music that tells a story.
Yes.
So what is music for you? I mean, it's what is cinema in
If I could get the chance, like, to have the music in any of my films, starting from top to bottom, I would do that. I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, part of the cinema I like is, I mean, depends heavily on music. And actually, a lot of the films and scenes that I remember have like a musical resonance to it. And this for me is a very important artistic element that I think helps me a lot to kind of deliver an emotion. I mean,
So mainly cinema for you is emotions, not ideas.
yes, in a lot of time, I mean, the question is what kind of emotion do I want the audience to feel from every scene? What kind of impact, emotional impact, do I want like the audience to get out of the film after they watch it? Because it's, I mean, I get very happy when someone watches a film and tells me, oh, it stayed with me till the next day. Okay, that's something very nice. And I mean, throwing ideas is much more than having answers, because part of the reason I enter any project or choose any film is not knowing a lot about the project, meaning not knowing a lot about the film world, not knowing a lot about the characters, not knowing a lot about how to make this film even. And then the brilliant part in my job and how I approach filmmaking is, and the fun part and the important part is the discovery. So the 3 years that I work on something that I don't know anything about, and trying to find it, and trying to find it in all those senses, are the very interesting. This is the very interesting period of time. After the film is done, it's done. I mean, it's finished. I've done what this kind of emotion has ended. And now it's up to the audience to decide. I mean, how do they take it? And
but that's another story.
Yeah,
It's another story. It's what we're here to discuss is basically how you approach a film. When you decide, I want to make this film. This is the film I want to make. What's interesting, you say it's something that has to stay for 3 years at least.
Yes.
And it haunts you.
Yes, and I can't get bored in the middle. I still have to be very interested in the middle. So I need to be like really obsessed with.
You don't need to. You are.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's forced, if you force yourself to be obsessed, it becomes. I mean, no, I have to do this film. No, it never happens that way.
No, it never happens this way.
It's something that occupies you completely, that possesses you completely.
Yes, yes.
For 3 years.
Yes.
But when you come to a scene, you were telling me something very interesting about notes you take.
Yes.
To remind yourself why you shoot it that way.
Yes.
And why, what kind of emotion you want from that particular moment.
Yes. So after
the film.
Yeah, after I mean, I have a script. Okay, and now I'm about to, and even while actually writing sometimes during the writing phase, I always write notes for myself and I try to imagine like kind of an emotional journey of the film. So like, for example, it's as simple as, okay, this scene, the intention behind this scene is to find like comic relief, for example. Or the intention behind that scene is to scare the audience in a way. Or the intention about the scene is sometimes to make intentionally a shocking scene in a way. And this really kind of dictates how I would kind of direct the scene in a way. So of course, there's the story, there's the comprehension, there's the information, and there's all this that I have to work on. But I deeply work on these emotions.
That's where the magic lies.
Yes, and that's what I think for me, because I would always like to make a film that I would like to kind of watch at the end, you know, like close to the cinema that I like to watch. What stays with me most of the time is sometimes I rewind the film to repeat a scene that I really like, and I would just be very satisfied watching that scene again and again and again. It's like a piece
Your own films? No.
No. I mean, a film that I like, for example. It's like re-listening to a piece of music that you know very well, but you keep on listening to it because it drives something emotionally, and then it becomes in memory. There are certain films that I would re-watch. I mean, so many times, and I don't have a problem with that because of this emotional trigger, and that's what I try to have in the film. That's what I try to like kind of search for in any of the films I make.
Like anybody who makes films, what you aim at is to give the audience the spectator, actually, not audience, the spectator individually, the same kind of emotion that you felt when you watched the films that you loved. And I think it's everybody's, every film director's dream is to films become like a reference in your life. They're experiences, the films that you've seen in your childhood and while growing up, and when you learn to love cinema, they sort of form your soul. And I think every filmmaker has that crazy ambition of trying to touch people's souls. And I don't think you can touch it very much by being very abstract concepts. It's always in a strong visual and sensory emotions that you can convey this.
Maybe we can move to the next clip to go a bit deeper into this. It's a singing scene. It's the first time. It's from the film Sett. It's after Kulthum arrives in Cairo, and she's climbing up in her career, and it's the first time she's singing at the palace.
Well, I think there's everything here. That's how you use music, how you use the voice, and how you tell a story that is not directly linked to the fact what she's singing. It's how I think you should.
So
what made you do that in that way, and why did you choose that song?
So this scene is really about two things. One thing is that before that, she came into this palace and she was very much intimidated by the elite there, and they didn't really like how she looked, what she was dressed at, and how she was dressed, and so on. And then she had to go up, change her clothes, and come down. So this is a very tense moment for her. How is she going to sing in front of the elite society? And with this wardrobe, how is her father going to take it and accept it? And at the same time, there's another sub-story that is happening, is that she's meeting the poet that wrote this particular song in that party, and then this develops into sort of a
he falls instantly in love with her. That's what the film says.
Yeah, and then this develops into a story afterwards. So actually, these are the stories that I have to tell in the scene. And the song, because the song, one of the things also is that this song is kind of the historically accurate song that must be that we must hear at that particular moment. But the music here does not really tell the story. The music here tries as much as possible to tell the other stories, and I'm trying as much as possible with the editing and with the way I shot it, is to tell the other stories, not tell the story of Kulthum on stage singing. So there's always, I always see it like that, there's always a story that we see in front of us, but there's always something else happening. And even in real life, like, I mean, there can be something that appears as if this is the real story, but there are layers of tension, there are layers of what's in your mind, what are you planning for, and so on. So here, the most important dramatic point here is what's behind the singing. And that's how, I think, for me, I thought, okay, so now I have to rely very much on editing, on extending time so much, and extending the time between, okay, the transformation in the audience, how she sees the lover, and how she gains confidence. And of course, this relationship with music, and Hichem is here, is that how can music help me tell that story?
What's amazing is that there is a song work, I mean, she's singing, which is music in itself. And there's a counterpoint. The music that Hichem writes, that the composer wrote,
yes,
is not at all identical to what she's singing. And this is
yes.
This is very, very eloquent in a sense.
Yeah. It was.
You're a good filmmaker, by the way.
Thank you. No, thank you. Yeah.
Now we thought of creating a bit of a contrast. So from this lovely, romantic, extraordinary scene, we're going to go to something very brutal. So it's a scene from Ibrahim Labiad, That is the second film, feature film that Marwan made, and in 2009. And at the beginning of the film, there is a very spectacular chasing scene. And this scene is in a way cut in two parts. He just goes on from rooftops to the streets, etc. And then at some point he stops. There's a bit of a fight, he stops, and then he resumes.
There's a lot to be said about this sequence. I mean, the set is incredible. For me, I like this film a lot. You know, it's one of my favorite films. It's how you invented the genre, in a sense, and how an Egyptian street fight. And what is an Egyptian street fight? And here you learn, I mean, there's a lot you can see. There's a street. And the crazy thing is that it's not a real street, it's a set. So there's a set, there's a genre that you're trying to invent, there's a hero you're trying to create. And I know for a fact, for example, that when you get videos on YouTube of street fights and stuff like that, and you hear people saying, "Wow, this is like Ibrahim Labyad." So it sort of became. It's like when you say it's Kafkaesque or something like that, you know, about a reality, how a film created its own myth and became a reference to reality, and that's very interesting. To have this in you.
Okay, so let's take it from the beginning. Before making this film, I didn't know anything.
Did you grow up in streets like this?
So before making this film, I didn't know anything about this world at all. And I also didn't know how to make such a film. You know, I had no idea about both. And I'm Abbas Abul Hassan, the writer of this film. I think it was a brilliant script that I read that had like a film world, a full film world with characters and with it was a beautiful script, and it was had a lot of detail. And the one thing that I asked the writer, who's a dear friend of mine, I mean, how does that even exist? Because
he introduced you to people. He took you and
first of all, he introduced me to, like, he did a brilliant research. You know, cutouts from newspapers, like a big kind of folder that has so many
incidents of fights
and stuff like that from real life incidents. And then I got introduced to people, like, just to kind of try and understand how it works and how, because there's always an idea behind something like that, and YouTube videos.
No, something like what? The fight. How does the fight? What makes this fight special?
So this fight is not, I mean, one thing about that fight is that there's no intention of killing. So nobody wants to kill anyone.
It's deflecting.
It's deflecting and scarring and humiliating the one person. That's why he keeps on going, scarring people. So it's kind of to dominate this neighborhood. He doesn't need to kill anyone. There's no intention of killing. And he's not fighting to kill. He's fighting to dominate. And that's a totally different technique. So we started learning because there's a certain, method or certain logic for that. And then we started searching into YouTube and trying to find videos like that. And we found so many videos, and then we kind of edited a lot of that together to create like a method for how would they behave, how would they move, and how would they fight together?
I'd like to interrupt. Yeah, but this doesn't explain the scene. I mean, how did you, where did you shoot it? How did you shoot it?
But this was
because I think a street fight means that there's a street.
Yes.
And this street is very strange.
Yeah. Well, it starts like that, and then things starting building, and here it's the collaboration in general. You know, because now this street was built by the legendary production designer Mr. Ons Boussif. And when he read the script, he told me, let's build a set on top of a mountain. And so what he did was he built that set in a studio and he built the background, and he built the house of the
He built a mountain.
yeah, and he built a mountain, and then so we shot like 80% of the film, for example, inside that set, then 20% in exterior places. But he designed the sets in a way where I can move in, whether the circulation of the characters or whether the camera can move in freely in the sets. So for example, you can jump from window to the other, and then I can follow him with the camera. You cannot find this in real life. So it's only designed in that set. So why the mountain is to like kind of create...
There's something interesting here, because when you say in real life, it doesn't make it any less true. I mean, there's a truth here. Maybe it's not 100% realistic, but it's true.
Yes.
Truthful.
Yes, but in...
حقيقي.
Yeah, yes.
مش واقعي, حقيقي.
Yeah, in a way, I think there's a thin line between both. So I think that every film has to have its own reality. And when I watch a film, even if what's in the film is not, does not exist in real life, or even if it's close to what exists in real life, but somehow I should believe what's in the film. And I should believe the reality of the film. You know, anyone that goes to the cinema knows that he's watching a film at the end of the day. But to make an emotional impact, I should believe in the reality that's in the film, although it is not 100% accurate to what happens in real life. And this is the imagination in a way, and this is vision also in a way, how you see things or how you see the reality. You know, and then afterwards comes a very difficult layer, which is, okay, so we've known the circulation, we've designed, the set has been designed, we know how we're going to shoot it because we've seen stuff like that, how to make it believable. And here, I mean, most of the people in the background are half extras, half real people. And here, I mean, we have with us here Safaeddin Mahmoud, he's a famous producer, and at the time he was the first AD on that film. And I decided that, okay, so I'm going to focus on what's in foreground, which is mainly the 5 main actors, and Safai will be in charge of whatever's happening in the background. So whatever's happening in the background, he started creating like shops, giving them names, giving them jobs, and then casting them, of course, and casting a lot of the actors, the young actors that appeared in that film. They then became very big stars, and then and create the movement behind, because this was like massive, you know, like all those shots with 2 people fighting and then people running around, and to make it, and this is what, even though nothing's happening in the shot, they're just standing in front of each other, like hustling each other, but there's something that is intimidating. It's because of the movement of the background, because of the screaming, and because of the shouting and so on. And one thing also is that there's not a lot of fighting in that scene. So if you really,
there's a lot of running.
Yes, yes. So if you really analyze it, they're not hitting each other, just running, chasing, but it's the attitude, and that gives the weight to the scene.
It's very abstract. It's like a dance.
In a way, yes. In a way, yes. And actually, one of the references was Animal Planet. Animal Planet. Yeah, so the main reference for that fight was based on how hyenas attack. So we used to watch Animal Planet a lot, and how a hyena would attack a lion, for example, because they would not attack from one side, they would attack from different sides. And that's why later on, when the scene develops, it's one moment that is picked from, and that was the idea of our fight choreographer.
And so. Yeah, you were talking about trust.
Yes, and I think here, okay, you start with you find the script, and then afterwards, I mean, every film, I don't know the film, I've never done it before, so it's the first time I'm doing that film. Maybe I know what kind of end result do I want. Maybe I have an idea about the film, but I've never done it before. So I'm discovering it, and the idea that I know everything does not exist. When I work on a film, I don't know everything, and here is the collaboration with the artists that work with you, whether in front of camera or with or behind camera, because then you need people that you can really trust to tell you that's bad, don't do that, it's not working. And at the same time, you need people that will give you ideas on how to make it work. And that collaboration is really, really important. I mean,
I always say to my collaborators, I know exactly what I don't want, but what I want is something that we're going to elaborate together.
yes,
We're going to find out. And I think it's this,
yes,
this process which makes filmmaking fun.
yes, this process, I think, is the most interesting part of the film. I mean, while making the film, while thinking about it, how to achieve it, especially if it's something that at least there's no. The easy way is to find like, okay, they do this somewhere else this way. Let's try. I mean, this is, yeah, exactly. But trying to find the unique way of telling it.
I love the fact that that the hyena. The attack of hyenas online
Yes.
inspired you, the choreography of the scene. I find this.
Yes.
I think I'll start watching more animal films.
Yeah.
Shall we move to a more confined space to talk a little bit about horror? So this is a sequence from The Blue Elephant 2. And it's the first time Dr. Yahya, our main character, is meeting, sorry, I forgot her name, Farida.
Yeah, why? Why do you make films like this? I like that. I mean, it's not at all. But what is in common between all these films?
The Blue Elephant?
Yeah, the characters. What characters attract you?
Okay, so if we're talking about the characters, one thing about this character here is that he's a character full of guilt.
So was
Zaki Dessouki.
Zaki Dessouki in Yakubian Building.
So was Gin in Kira and Gin. And I think I'm very attracted to characters that have a big arc and a big transformation. I am attracted to characters that do mistakes. I'm attracted to characters that have a resolution for that mistakes, for these mistakes. And this is one of these characters that he's, I mean, the one thing that, the most difficult thing about that film was not actually everything that is obvious in difficulty. It was the fact that he killed his wife and child in a car accident because he was drunk driving. How can we kind of like a character like that? That's the most important question that I had in mind all the time. How can we like that character? And he feels guilty, and he's looking for redemption in a way. Zeki has the same thing also throughout his journey, and how
Zeki from the Jacobian building.
Yes, Zeki from the Jacobian building, and played by the legendary Mr. Adil Imam. And the ending of his story, you would have never imagined that it would end this way. I mean, this aristocrat marrying that girl. I mean, with the age difference, with the difference in where they come from, and accepting that, and so on, and living happily with her, and accepting at the end also not to become so lonely at the very end. I think is a beautiful story, and a beautiful character arc. Same with Yahya, and same with El-Gin, that had a problem with his father, a big problem on their difference in beliefs and so on. And then when his father dies, he becomes someone else. I think characters that have that heavy stories, or these heavy stories, are very interesting, and I find them very.
What's interesting here also is that. I mean, you've made 2 blue elephants. There's a third one on the way. So they occupy the horror. Seems to occupy a large part of your film work so far.
Yes, the Blue Elephant for me.
Although you're someone who wants to do musicals, I hear.
The Blue Elephant is a film and a project that I really enjoy making very much. I have a lot of fun making the Blue Elephant. And one thing is that, I mean,
the audience seems to have fun too, because they're blockbusters.
One thing is that it has to do about the dream worlds and how, and I always think of it as if these are dreams. And what are dreams? And how we dream is a huge question, you know, and especially that when we dream, there's something shifts and changes when it comes to space and time. It's a different time and a different space. And that's how I try to like kind of deal with these scenes in general, and this difference between what's reality and what's not reality, and what's scary and what's not scary. In a way, I mean, sometimes you do in our dreams, you wake up with a physical effect because of what you've seen while you were sleeping, and this is what I'm trying to all the time in these films. I'm trying to kind of share this emotion with the audience. So you're
having fun as a filmmaker because it seems to liberate your imagination.
Yes, very much.
Because you're not linked to reality and whatever.
Very, very much, very much. And also when it comes to making it, I mean, there's something that I'm trying it for the first time. I'm trying for the first time. This is something that is quite interesting. And at the same time, you create your own rules when it comes to what we're going to see. And this is very liberating and it's super fun. And actually, I mean, and not only for me, I mean, for all of us working. So how is going to...
You're someone who likes, you like games.
Of course.
I remember you PlayStation constantly.
Yeah. I mean, but that was a while ago. But I mean, yes. I mean,
but that's part of your culture.
Yes.
How does it come into cinema?
I mean, as I said, it's as simple as like.
Guillermo del Toro was saying something in one of his master classes in Marrakesh, where he was saying that he's taking courses in game making because there's something to learn as a storyteller from how games are conceived, how games are, and in your films, I have a feeling that maybe without you realizing it, but that there's a lot of game.
Yes, I mean, when you decide, like, for example, in a way, okay, in this particular part, I want to, like, as simple as scare the audience or make them create a certain emotion that they would feel, and it happens, or one succeeds in that, there's a bit of a game with them. You're trying to because nothing that is happening here is for real. It's all just in their minds that it is that scary. And yes, in a way, that's true. But before we say that, we have the producers of the film with us, Baho Bakhsh and Safaidi Mahmoud. Both of them are the producers of that film. And of course, we have the music composer of the film with us, Hisham Nazi, and all the previous films also. So, yeah. So,
because a lot of it is also in like The Blue Elephant. There's something in it very similar, the same kind of playfulness with reality, with
yes,
with imagination, with.
Yes, I think yes. I mean, in a way, this film starts with an Einstein quote that imagination is. I think he has a quote like, the imagination is more important than reality, something like that. And this is, we start with that. And I think imagination, I mean, is something that, is something that I really depend on very much while I work. As I said before, I try to kind of...
So actually there's a kind of coherence in all your work.
Yes, I mean as I was saying before, I mean, I want to create a reality of the film itself. And this reality would only, it can be like, it can come from real life, it can come from history, it can come from anywhere, but at the end, it exists differently in the film. So, or in other words, the film world itself. The film world has to have its own weight and its own effects. So, and this is something that when you watch the film with how it was shot, how the locations looked like, how the characters performed, how it sounded, all this makes it very unique to itself and becomes, hopefully, or I intend, but I'm not sure that, that I'm always successful in that, it becomes a memory with whomever watches it afterwards. So it stays for a very,
There's also a lot of your own memory in it.
of course, this is, and also this is very important. This is very important that somehow it becomes personal, even if there's from the
Your own memory of cinema.
my own memory
Films,
of cinema.
of the films you liked. We were talking about The Village.
Yes. So, for example, now, for, I never grew up in a village also. So, and I have any idea that I have about a village would come from old black and white films, like from the golden age of Egyptian cinema, and this is the most beautiful. I mean, image that I would have about something like a village and so on. So, for example, when I come to direct a scene that would happen in a village, I would go, as my reference, I would go to watch a Henry Barakat film, or an old Yusuf Shaheen film, for example, from that era, or any of those films that really shot the village in a way that stayed in my memory as a child, so that becomes my own reality. So actually...
So there's a whole superposition of myths that create a reality. I mean, because the films, I mean, I remember there's one of the, Muhammad Karim was one of
yes.
the pioneers of Egyptian cinema. He didn't like the way buffaloes looked in the countryside. They're black, and he had them painted, all of them white. And there's a kind of image of what the village is like, how it's like, that comes from cinema. You use it, it's used again and again, and then it ends up becoming the village.
Yes, yeah. And so many other things, you know, because, I mean, with Egyptian cinema, you've got great references for storytelling and for everything. And I think being part of Egyptian cinema, whether like the classic films, or whether the more recent ones, or even the films that the younger generation makes, I mean, they're all kind of very inspiring in a way. And one other thing is that I learn a lot, and I've learned a lot from Egyptian cinema, whether from my mentors or whether from the films, because at the end, there's something in common between us all. I mean, we're trying to tackle the same kind of, we're dealing with the same audience, we're dealing with the same, more or less, yeah, I mean, in the same environment as a whole. And so when someone does something that is like kind of different, or I really learn from that a lot. And I think there's so many films in Egyptian cinema, and sometimes I would watch an older film in Egyptian cinema, and I would say, how did they do that 50 years ago with this huge camera? And I mean, how would they do that? Those big, very big productions, or these amazing scenes that they've done, and it's a challenge. I mean, and it's something that I look at, and I find fascinating about this heritage that we have of Egyptian cinema.
How much does that influence? Because I mean, your father is one of the most important script writers in Egyptian cinema in the last 40 years. He's been working for since the 80s, I think.
I think he has a lot of influence on me, on me loving filmmaking in general, because
he used to scare me, you know that?
Sorry?
I was very afraid of him. He was a very, very formidable character. I mean, very, very forceful and very vulnerable.
So when you grow up like in an environment full of film, I mean, this becomes your childhood playground, you know. And it's not like, I mean, and then I found myself like, okay, this is where I want to belong in a way. And then afterwards, because I love most of my father's work, I mean, and there are some films that he has done that I think are really magnificent, you know. And this kind of and what I like most is the impact it does on the audience. And this is a learning on how to create an impact, how to write a script that has impact, how to write a line of dialogue that has impact. And that's why I'm trying all the time to have a film, to make a film that has an impact on the audience. And the impact is, as we were discussing earlier, emotional. And that for me is very, very important.
I think we barely have time for the audience to start asking questions.
Yes, that's a very good idea. We have 15 minutes, so don't be shy. Yes, please. Just a moment, they're going to give you a microphone. It will be easier. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, since yesterday, when I saw Sett, I have one big question. How did you handle the voice of the actress, the actresses who played Kulthum? So, was there anything of the real voice, the real Kulthum, restored in these voices?
Yes, the real, I mean, we used some original tracks from Kulthum, the most recent ones we have used. And the older ones, when we were like in the 20s and so on, because we do not have recordings for that, so we have used replacement voices for that. So we had a replacement singer that sang some of the songs, and then so some of the most famous ones are the real Kulthum.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are many, many hands now. Excellent.
Thank you. Another question regarding your controversial films. How do you deal with the reception with critics and accept, let's say, especially this last movie that had, let's say, a lot of controversial reception in Egypt? How do you deal with that?
I mean, I think this is the nature of making films. I mean, this is very. I mean, this is the nature of the business, as they say, and you have to accept it and have to respect all opinions. And since I started and I entered the business and started doing films, I understand very well that opinions might differ, and I have to respect all opinions. And every film has its own journey. I mean, with the release and after the release and so on. But in all cases, this is something that, I mean, I wouldn't expect that every film will be as successful as the other. And I wouldn't expect that every film would be praised by
making films
everyone.
is not like elections. You don't want unanimity. It's not political. A film is a film. Some people feel films and some people don't. And with time, I mean, some films exist. When they're I mean, my own history is making films that are misunderstood when they're made, and then 20 years later, all of a sudden, they become cult classics. And I think it's the film that speaks. If you keep listening to what everybody has to say, you'll be very confused. Yeah. I personally don't accept all opinions. I'm not as democratic as he is, but I believe in the honesty and the longevity of a film.
Hi, I'm an Egyptian filmmaker that's lived most of my life outside of Egypt, so I'm not very familiar with Egyptian cinema, but I saw the Yakubian building today. It was wonderful. I'm curious about censorship in Egypt, and if, like when that film came out, what the reaction was, if there was censorship, and could you make that same film today?
I remember when the Yakubian building came out, I mean, it was also very controversial when it came out at that time, and it stirred a lot of controversy. But it was released, and the audience kind of, I mean, I think it did well in box office at the time, but it stirred also a lot of controversy. And I think with the Yakubian building, it was it fit its era in a way. I mean, and I think a film like the Yakubian building now, what can be interesting in terms of today's reality is like the emotions there. But I mean, the reality is different. So I don't think I would be wanting, or I mean, as is, I think it doesn't suit now.
Just behind you, this lady.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I was wondering, what is the most challenging thing for you as a filmmaker, and especially at the beginnings? And what kind of advice would you give young filmmakers?
Giving advice is always very difficult, because I mean, I think that the job of a filmmaker is a very difficult job, because there's a lot of uncertainty that comes with it. You know, you're always uncertain on whether the film is going to be good or bad, whether you're going to make the film, whether it's going to see how is it going to be received, and so on. And at the same time, there's something that is very challenging in a way, which is I mean, there's a lot that is being produced and all around, and for you to stand out when it comes to that, because there's a lot of brilliant stuff that is being produced. And the only thing that I find, and the only advice that I can say, and that doesn't guarantee anything, is to just be truthful and unique to whatever story you want to say and to yourself. And this is the only way, if you're truthful and that unique, is that you can stand out in the middle of all these amazing films that are being produced, or series, I mean, globally. And so I think being very original is the most important thing. Thank you.
Then there's the question of what is originality.
It's being yourself, I think, because unless you're no one.
Yes, true. Just there.
Yes, also thank you for this talk. I would like to know what you think about the reception, like receiving of the Egyptian cinema, of the place of Egyptian cinema, how you want to name it, in the broader world cinema, or maybe even specifically in the Western cinema. As we have known, it's also, I read the introduction about this talk yesterday in the paper, and it was also saying that Egyptian cinema is not that much known in the West, for example. And I was wondering, how do you see that? Do you see that as a challenge, or you don't even mind? I don't know. How do you see that?
The question is, how do you see the...
Well, I think I mean, if we look now globally, there's a bit of change in a very positive way that is happening. For example, so if I look like at I mean, what Korean cinema is doing and its reach, and what, for example, Icelandic series are doing and its reach, and things like I mean, work that is coming from Finland and its reach. That wasn't the case like maybe 10 years ago. And I think one thing that opened that very much are platforms, in a way. And because all this work and all this art that we're watching on platforms, in a way. One of the things is that theatrically it is a big challenge, and theatrical releases are getting more and more expensive and more risky. So in a way, maybe with all this, I mean, the changes that are happening with platforms, that gives a chance to whether Egyptian or Arab films to spread more, especially that in the recent years, I think we're doing better than before. So I mean, now, I mean, with the number of Egyptian and Arab films that are screened in film festivals or being widely or released abroad, if I look at the numbers now, I think they're increasing. So every year there are a number of Egyptian films that I mean, yeah, crossover and exist, and I think the number is increasing, and that's a very positive thing in a way. Now, how can it reach a wider audience? I think platforms and a different mentality when it comes to distribution deals can make a difference.
And also events like this, like retrospectives on works like yours, that bring it to the Netherlands and then hopefully creates more waves to bring your works more towards this side of the Mediterranean.
Yes, of course, film festivals have a great role in that, and I totally agree. Retrospectives and giving the audience, especially with a festival that has like a great audience, like in Rotterdam and other festivals around the world. I mean, it introduces other cinemas also and other to the festival audience, of course.
I think all cinemas have to struggle, in a sense. I mean, it's a fact that the films that really work all over the world are American films or English-speaking films. And it's always difficult for cinematographies, even when they're fashionable for a moment, like Iranian cinema or Tunisian cinema. For a while, it was Egyptian cinema. The real challenge is to continue making films and not making films formatted for special audiences, is to try and tell stories that really emanate from your experience, from your sensitivity, from your sensibility. And it's your bad luck if, I mean, it's the West's bad luck if they don't see these films. It's their...
Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds arrogant, but it's true. I mean, we don't make films. I don't think Marwan or myself or any filmmaker makes films specifically to cross over. And when they do, the result is very ephemeral. It's like a fashion that disappears. Egyptian cinema exists since 120 years, so it means something.
I think this lady here.
Thank you. Kind of related to what you answered earlier, I'm curious, do you think there are any characters or features that make Egyptian movie unique, or maybe any like elements in maybe storytelling or the camera language that makes you notice that, that is an Egyptian movie?
There's a point where we started going to festivals or making films that went to Cannes, and one of the questions we were asked very frequently, where is the singing and dancing? Because for a very long time, and Samia Gamal and Farid Al-Atrash and Abdel Halim Hafez films were shown in Paris very normally, and they became like a genre. And at one point, this is me speaking, nobody else, it became not fashionable and not good and not virtuous to show belly dancing or show singing in films. It was considered bad. And I think there's a kind of decline that happened in cinema when we started sacrificing the joy and becoming too serious, too glum, too local. And one of the things I like about Marwan's films is that he is bold in creating genres and in using genres and flaunting them as part of Egyptian culture and as part of Egyptian cinema, and playing with them. And this is one of the reasons why I'm very happy to conduct this discussion, because it sounds horrible to say, but he inspires me too.
Thank you.
More questions? I think, okay, let's go to Ahmed Shawki first and then to you, okay? We still have a bit of time.
Actually, thank you for this very impressive discussion. I think it tackled so many important things. And I really wanted to highlight what you said, Deli, that this is a very specific retrospective. I mean, as a film goer, as a film critic, as someone who encounters what the festivals, the Western festivals usually see from the Egyptian cinema, they usually see the independent, the outcomers, the people who are trying to break out of the traditions of the Egyptian cinema. But I would say that Marwan is the great example of classic Egyptian cinema in the terms of joy that Yousry mentioned, that the films should be joyful, should speak to big audience. And I think having such a retrospective, and I attended 3 or 4 films with audience, and I encountered how Dutch people and different audience coming from completely a different background, they enjoyed the film, they dealt with it. And I think it should be, maybe we start from here with this amazing program to tell the festivals, as Yousry said, maybe you think it's not that fashionable to have a classic Egyptian action movie or a romance or a thriller, but it actually works. It has audience, and Egypt is one of the handful countries in the world that has now more than 4,000 feature films produced through the history. And I think it deserves to, this kind of Egyptian commercial, not commercial, but like audience-loving cinema should be more highlighted in European
Popular.
festivals. Yeah, popular, yeah.
Thank you. I think there was it was you? Yes.
Thank you for sharing this wonderful, dynamic work, ranging from romantic comedy, from horror to action. I have no idea how you do it. It's hard to master one genre, and all the insights that you shared were really, really, really felt very authentic and honest. So thank you for that. My question is, since you seem to be a rebellion, do you also focus on the diversity in terms of your male characters are really deep and nuanced and complex? Do you also focus on female characters or a female-focused film where the role of the women are more nuanced and complex and they lead the narrative? And also, are you mindful of the women's role behind the camera in technical department, in different departments? That's my question.
First of all, thank you for your words, and yes, indeed. I mean, so like Sett, our last film is about a female character, and is about a very inspiring woman and trying to follow her journey all throughout. I mean, since she was a child, and how she became a legend, and how she became a very iconic singer, and also a very influential woman, and the film follows how she transformed society in a way, and how she influenced society. So, and even in other films, I always try and to have like strong female characters, and I mean, 7 of those films were designed, the costumes were designed by an Egyptian legend in costume design, Mrs. Nasrallah, who is Yousry's sister. And I mean, all those characters, male or female, were I mean, she had the greatest input in designing how they look. And she was one of the, she's one of the, I mean, the main collaborators. Yes, and of course, and in Sett there was Hannah Mahmoud, who was also, I mean, she shared the treatment with Ahmed Murad in writing the script. So yes, and to answer your question, yeah.
We can take more minutes if there are more questions. Maybe this lady here, a last question before we wrap up.
2 really short questions, I hope. One is for Sett, did you have to obtain the rights, or is she considered public domain, like with her music? And the second question is, are there discussions around the use of AI in filmmaking and sort of what the ethical markers of those might be? Thanks.
Use of AI. Any songs in you have to acquire the rights. And because of the rights for the song itself and for everything, so yes, indeed, we had to acquire all the rights. They're not in the public domain, And regarding her story is in the public domain, so there's no need for that. As for her life, yeah, her life is public domain, like any other character. As for AI, I mean, these conversations are going on now, and they're going on worldwide. And I think it's, and even the technology is not very accessible to us when it comes to work with that. And there's a lot of debate about it. And so, I mean, it's not yet where we are. It's not something that we are using now in our films. And actually, even with the images, I don't think they're quite there yet. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff that has been done with AI, and I still have like quite a problem with the aesthetics of it, yeah, and the images that they produce, and especially that all those
I don't think we're going to live long enough to see actors completely replaced by avatars that create a link to the audience. I don't think this will happen. No, I am right. And the other thing, of course I'm right. I've lived long enough to know that I'm right. And the other thing is, since when is, there's a technology now, a technology that an artist can always use. But the ethical question is not the use, because at the end of the day, it can be settled legally. The ethical question is when people get kicked out of their jobs and replaced by artificial intelligence and stuff like that, and people are flaunting. So what you're talking about is a technology that is against humanity. It's like the A-bomb in the 50s, and it's an old debate. I mean, let's remember the debate in the 50s when the let's remember a film. For me, a film like Oppenheimer's is only interesting because it reconstitutes the debate about this new technology. You have to think of it in terms of, he's not really talking about the atomic bomb and the use of atomic energy. He's really talking about any new technology that is going to be used against human beings. And for the time being, so far, people like Bezos, and they're your problem. It's not artificial intelligence, but it's people like Bezos, like these people who own the technology and who throw you out. Using, and again, it's very expensive. It's very expensive to do a sequence in artificial intelligence. If you want it really good. I mean, if you dabble around with this Maeda at home, you can create a couple of seconds that look good, a little item. But if you want to use it in a cinema, it means a lot of money, and it becomes less expensive to use real people.
I think we have to stop here, unfortunately, although I think we could stay more. Thank you very much for being here. And thank you to both of you, Marwan and Yousry. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.